Hey guys, it's Katie. Happy New Year! Welcome to 2018, and I'm here today to do technically my TBR for 2018, as well as my book goals. So I hope to read 30 books this year, but I have 50 books on my TBR. I don't know if I'll actually get to all of them, but I'm going to aim for 30, and we'll see what happens. I want to start and finish the Animorph series by Catherine Applegate. It's a series about 5 young children who get a gift given to them by an alien, and they get the power to morph into any animal whose DNA that they can acquire, so that they can fight these mind-controlling aliens called Yeerks. It's a lot better than it sounds, I promise. Next, I'm hoping to get to The Fellowship of Fear by Erin Elkins, and it seems to be some kind of a mystery thriller. I think it's a series, but I've only got the one book, and so we'll see if I like it or not. But this is basically, I'm going to read the description on the back to you guys because I really don't know much about it. I got this book several years ago as a gift, and I haven't touched it. Travel in Germany, Sicily, Spain, and Holland, with all expenses paid. Sounds more like a dream vacation than a visiting fellowship to Gideon Oliver. That is, until some black-clad and desperate men try to kill him. And it just so happens that 2 other visiting scholars have met with mysterious ends. A world-renowned anthropologist, Oliver, claims he can identify his assailants by their speech patterns. But John Lau, the officer assigned to the case, doesn't believe a word of it. Nor does he believe that the charred fragments of bones and teeth from a corpse can reveal its identity and smoking habits. Now caught in a web of intrigue that stretches across Europe, Oliver must rely on his forensic talents to help him solve a deadly conundrum, not to mention save his own life. It sounds really, really awesome. It sounds like a mixture between like Sherlock Holmes and Bones. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the TV show Bones. It's one of my all-time favorite TV shows, and that's probably why I was gifted this book, because it deals with forensics and anthropology and crime and murder and stuff, and that's all stuff that I enjoy. And then I would also like to read The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. I've had this book for quite a while as well, and for some reason I never picked it up, but this series seems to be right up my alley, since I love everything mythology and classics and folklore and history from this time period. I'd also like to read Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I've heard phenomenal things about this book, and I wanted to read Brandon Sanderson's work for a very long time. I keep hearing people say this is a standalone, but I thought I read somewhere that there was going to be a sequel at some point. I don't know if that's true or what, but I definitely am going to read this, and I'm super excited to get to this. And then I also really want to read the rest of the Realm of the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. I'm currently in the middle of Dragon Haven, which is the 2nd book in the Rainwild Chronicles, and I have 2 more to finish up for that, which are City of Dragons and Blood of Dragons. And then after that I'll probably jump right into the Fitz and the Fool series, which has 3 books, and they're the last 3. So that starts with Fool's Assassin, Fool's Quest, and then we get to Assassin's Fate, and I have a feeling that that's going to be a ride, and just rip my heart out and stop on it. But I'm both really excited and really sad that I am very close to being finished with that series, because I've been immersed in it for almost, 2.5 years now, and that's kind of insane. And then I'm planning on getting to The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I've had that on my TBR for at least 2 years at this point, I have a lot of books on my TBR, guys. I kind of have to just pick and choose what I read when, so I have to plan out my year. I can't just pick books on a whim because my TBR is so large. But Song of Achilles, I've heard phenomenal things about, and I'm super, super excited to read. Basically, from what I understand, it's about Achilles and Patroclus and their relationship kind of when they were in their teens, and everything that led up to the war, and then just the aftermath. And apparently there's lots of heartbreak, because of course there is. I'm also maybe planning on reading, or trying to read, whatever, Game of Thrones. I have a friend who wants to read it with me, because we both watch the show, and I've kind of tried to dabble in the books a little bit, and they're okay, I think, but I think if I have someone to read them with, I might be more inclined to read them, because I've heard from a lot of my friends that the writing is just really questionable, and it's just all over the place, and I don't know. So I'm like, I have mixed feelings about reading that, but my friend wants to read it with me, so I'll probably read that with her and her fiance, soon-to-be husband, and hope that that goes well. And then I also want to read The Legend of Sigurd and Gudrun by J.R.R. Tolkien. It just seems to be a translation of Norse mythology, or that tale in Norse mythology, so that should be really, really interesting. I also like to start the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I've had a lot of different people recommend how to start them. I've heard just don't go in order, because some of the early ones aren't the best. So if you guys have any suggestions for how to read Discworld, put them in the comments below. Another book I'd like to read, well, another couple of books I'd like to read earlier in the year are Lights Out, A Cyber Attack, A Nation Unprepared, Surviving the Aftermath by Ted Koppel. Because with the state of the world, it might be a good idea to know how to potentially survive a cyber attack, and what would happen if the entire grid went out, and just how to prepare for that. It just might be a good idea. How Soccer Explains the World by Franklin Foer, because this book has been on our shelf for quite a while. A friend of ours lent it to us to read, and I figured with the World Cup coming up this year, it might be fun to read this before watching. I mean, I'm an avid soccer fan, and I have been for quite a while, but now that I'm older, it might be interesting to read that. It seems to just really delve into a lot of different groups and things throughout the world. Like there's a chapter all about pornography and gangsters and just different groups, and it just might be a really interesting read. I mean, I don't know how outdated this is because it came out in 2004. I don't know if this is still relevant, but I still think I want to read it anyway. And then I also want to read, or try and reread. I got a bit waylaid, but it's called Murder on the Appian Way. It's by one of my absolute favorite historical fiction authors, Stephen Saylor. And I don't know why. I think I just got too busy, and then I just forgot where I was, so I stopped reading it and then just never picked it back up. But the thing about Stephen Saylor is he writes all these historical fiction books based on ancient Rome, and they usually entail a murder. And I have quite a few of his books that I haven't quite gotten around to yet. I actually went through a period for a while where I just didn't read any new books. I just kept rereading old favorites. And I want to pick up more of his books, because especially since he's got a new one coming out this February called Throne of Julius Caesar, that I'm also really wanting to read at some point, because I love Julius Caesar. He's interesting. It's my favorite Shakespeare play. Fun fact about Katie. And then my parents really, really want me to read but Animal Farm by George Orwell, as well as 1984 by George Orwell. They're just, I think, really important for me to read and understand, like political science and just certain things about the world, because apparently George Orwell was very ahead of his time and had a lot to say about society and a lot of stuff. So this fall, because for some reason in the fall I always get into like super romantic and relationship angsty mood, so I want to read Persuasion by Jane Austen. This has been sitting on my shelf for a while, but the thing is the stuff that's in this book seems to be right up my alley. I live for pining angst, and so I think I'll really like this. I mean, I love Jane Austen. I haven't read as many of her works as I would have liked, but I have read Pride and Prejudice and I loved that, and I've heard really good things about Persuasion, so I'm hoping to get to that in the near future. And then also over the summer, because I have no idea what other time I would be able to read it, but my parents and my grandma really also wanted me to read this. It's called Poland, and it's by James A. Michener, and it is quite a large book. I might be able to pull off reading this in July. Definitely have to be before school, but it seems to be very interesting because the premise of what Michener does is he goes to a country and he lives there for several years and he researches the entire history of the country, and he creates fictional families and kind of shows how the country evolved through those families' eyes, kind of thing. So this is all about Poland, and I believe it starts in the medieval time, and then it takes it up through the 80s. So it'll be really interesting to read this, I think, especially since we've got some Polish background in our family. So yeah, hope to read this at some point soon. And then would like to read Frankenstein in October as my fun spooky read. I haven't read it. I know, I'm a terrible person. And then when it comes out, which I actually don't know because they didn't give us a proper date for it, the third book in Charlotte Ash's Heart of All Worlds series is coming out at some point this year, supposedly, and that is called The Sixth Anchor. Basically, the premise in the first book is there is an elite race called the She, or the Sheed, and they are basically elves, and they are enslaved by humans and used for sexual pleasure. It's a bit of a rough start to, it's a bit of a rough world. So it deals a lot with caste systems and races and sexuality, because it's an LGBT novel or series, but it's a love story between a human and a Sheed. The human's name is Breeden, and the She is named Ceres, and it follows their love story from the time that they're in the land of the humans in order to get Ceres back to the Fairylands, and everything that happens to them on the way. And yeah, it's a fun, chaotic, crazy, sexy, political series, and they're fairly short books, only roughly about 400 pages each. So they're quick. They're very quick reads. The writing style is very fast-paced and a lot happened. I think that might be all I've got on my TBR for right now. So we'll see if I add any more or if I can even get through all of these. But I'm really excited to read them all. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. Find me on social media links that I've posted below and come talk to me. I'd love to talk to all of you. But if not, thanks for watching, and have a very happy new year, and I'll come back with another video for you guys again soon. Okay, bye!